Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we're doing a what's next on Willy Hutchinson, the light heavyweight contender, following his career best win, a 12-round unanimous decision over Craig Richards, as he opened the 5 versus 5 pay-per-view card and scored a victory, started the clean sweep for Queensberry with the win over Richards. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So Hutchinson, again, this was a nice win. You know, I picked him to lose, but he just outworked Craig Richards, out-hustled him, clean 12-round decision win, and punched his ticket towards something bigger in the light heavyweight division, which this is a wide open division. Not a lot of star power here. It's very top heavy. You got about 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 guys at best that are considered contenders, threats. But a couple of those guys have already had their chance against the top 2, the champs, and come up short. So now, you know, Hutchinson has thrown his name in the mix with this victory over Richards. So his highest ranking is, I think he's number 6 by both the WBC and the WBO. I think he's number 7 in the IBF. We know he's been rumored and linked to a potential WBO interim title fight against Joshua Buatsi next. Now, if that's the case, that's a big deal right there. But let's run through the rest of the top 10 and see what else could be possible. We start with Dimitri Bivol, the undefeated WBA light heavyweight champ. Not happening next. Bivol is in line to fight Arthur Beterbiev for the undisputed title. Speaking of Beterbiev, that's not happening next either. He's in line to fight Bivol for the undisputed title on October 12th. Next is Callum Smith. Not likely, in my opinion. If the fight with Buatsi doesn't happen, maybe there's a chance that Callum Smith wants to throw his name into the mix and fights a guy like Willy Hutchinson, but I'm leaning towards the less likely. Then you got Anthony Yarde, another British heavyweight. Would be a good matchup right there, but Anthony Yarde, the reason why Hutchinson is in discussion for Buatsi for an interim title fight is because Yarde passed on the fight, or by not responding to the order by the WBO. So they've moved on and have offered the fight now to Willy Hutchinson. So I don't think that Anthony Yarde would be available unless Hutchinson doesn't want to fight Buatsi and he works out a deal with Anthony Yarde, because I think they're both tied to top rank in Queensberry. So I think that fight does have, there is a possibility there, but right now it looks more like the Buatsi fight if he accepts the interim shot at the interim title. Then you got Alexander Votsick. Depends on how Votsick looks against David Benavidez. If he beats Benavidez, next is going to be interesting to see what he does. But I'm not sure Votsick would fight a guy like Willy Hutchinson. Maybe he would if nobody else signs up to fight him. But I think he would get either a rematch with Benavidez or another bigger name opponent. So I would say less likely he fights Votsick. But if Votsick loses, and let's say he loses like a close decision to Benavidez, then maybe that is a real possibility, Votsick and Willy Hutchinson next. So I definitely think the fight has some legs to it and could potentially happen. Then, as I said, you got Richard Rivera now. That another possibility if he does not pursue the interim title fight with Buatsi. Then there's Michael Eifert. He's the IBF's #1 ranked contender. I don't think Michael Eifert's going to risk it, by fighting a guy like Willy Hutchinson next. So I'm going to say no. Then there's Joshua Buatsi. I think this is the most likely option to happen next, because it's a big opportunity. He's probably going to get on a big card to have this fight, and it could push him into a title fight. He could be, at the end of the day, he could replace, if he beats Buatsi, he would replace him as -- contender and be in line potentially for Bivol or for fighting for 1 or 2 titles, you know, in the first half of next year. So there, you know, this one I think is the most likely option. Then there's veteran Jean Pascal. Pascal fights everybody pretty much, so he never officially retired. So I think Pascal could come back and fight another guy on the rise like Hutchinson. If Hutchinson doesn't get a bigger fight than that, yeah, I think that's a possibility. And Vasily Wojciechowski, I don't see this one happening. Dan Aziz, you know, is a possibility if nothing else pans out. It's a possibility just because they're both local guys. Albert Ramirez is highly ranked in the WBA. I think there is a possible chance that this one could happen. And then Jeremy Papaloni lost to Malik Zinad this year. I don't think he would want to fight a guy like Willy Hutchinson next, even though he lost the close decision, so maybe he would. So I think the most likely option for Willy Hutchinson next is the showdown with what's his name, Joshua Buatsi. I think that's going to happen. I also think there's possibilities of Anthony Yard and a couple guys in the back half, even Callum Smith potentially, even though they're under different promotions. Jean Pascal, maybe, you know, guys like that. But I think either way, Willy Hutchinson's going to get a top 10 guy next because he wants to really prove himself following this big win over Craig Richards. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we hear something soon. That's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on Willy Hutchinson, the light heavyweight contender, following his career best win, a 12-round decision win over Craig Richards. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.